Okay. Well, I think it's about time that we probably get started then. Can I just get a thumbs up from you guys that you can see the presentation that I am presenting at the moment, and then I can go into giving an intro to myself? Okay, gorgeous stuff. Brilliant stuff. Right. Well, I guess for those who don't know, we may as well just go straight in. One, thanks everyone for coming. What's going to happen is this is it's part of our webinar projects that we're doing at the moment. So essentially giving some insights to what we do as a business and how we can help enrich not only some of our clients, but some people further afield as well. So giving insights, data, facts. This one specifically is around Q4 and 5 creative hacks that we have. So number one, thank you for coming along anyway. And what will happen is that this session will be recorded, and for those that have been invited or they've registered, they will get a video version of this session so they can look back and look through these creative hacks, and hopefully it can either infer your current position and your marketing mix within Q4 at the moment, or it can help you further afield. I think it's really important to understand that Q4 now, there's been a lot of changes to the market, specifically post-pandemic and more so during this cost of living crisis. How we speak to our customers has changed. How we market to our customers is very specific, and the messaging that we use throughout our creative mix is really, really important. But it's not just something that we can use in 2023. So I know that we have missed probably key preparation for key events such as upcoming Thanksgiving or Black Friday, but hopefully there'll be some things within messaging that maybe you'll be able to take out from this. And if you can't use it in 2023, you'll be able to use it in 2024, 2025, 2026. It's all long-lasting creative hacks that could also be used throughout the year as well, or preparation for either Q5 after Q4 or Q1. So for those who don't know, I'm Morgan. I work at Rocketer. I work within the creative department. So my main role within the creative team is around copy. It's around messaging, creative ideation, and right now, more specifically, is user-generated content and video-first content, because we're seeing there's a huge shift in how we should market and what our consumers, or how our consumers are digesting content within socials, and that is heavily shifted towards video. So essentially, yeah, that's my main bread and butter. But to get onto this, so you'll love this: 5 creative hacks for Q4. So some just techniques that will help your ads shine. So let's go through our agenda. So the main points for this is I will start by talking about why Q4 is so important. So giving a bit of context on why this session and why amending or editing your creative response is so important, because Q4, for the most part, makes a lot of businesses sales. So what makes Q4 so important, and putting Q4 into perspective. And then we move on quite swiftly into one of our creative hacks. So that's embracing festivity, the simplicity of seasonality in creatives, and what themes you should adopt throughout your creative mix to really meet your customer where they want to be met. The second of those hacks is around messaging intent. So something that I'd say I'm pretty good at, or say that I have a bit of insight in. I know that well, specifically within Q4, competition is rife. So it's really important to understand like what is important for your consumers during this time. How can you talk to them or change your articulation of messaging, so that you can speak to them again how they need to be spoken to within Q4 to get the most success out of your creative mix. And then the third of our hacks is around numbers, urgency, and FOMO. As you'll know as a marketer anyway, numbers are an age-old tactic, but they're a golden tactic. So using numbers to evoke emotions and encourage actions as well. Of the fourth of these is talking around statics in motion. So garnering attention through movement, and then something that we always talk about at Rocketer and that we think is majorly important for our creatives is the idea of having a thumb-stopping creative. So what encourages someone to stop for your ad, and how can we use motion to really halt them in their tracks and gauge their attention? And then finally, which I would say is probably the most important out of the five of these hacks, not just for Q4 at the moment, but for your marketing or your creative approach for the next 3 to 5 years or even further afield, is harnessing user generated content. So for a marketing mix, I'd say this is the cherry on the cake for most marketers. I'd say that if it's not the cherry on the cake or not one of just the five creative hacks that we have, it's probably the most important facet of your creative mix moving from this point forward. And then I want to open the floor to people who are here. We had some questions and some queries that were sent when people began to register, when people kind of accept coming to the meeting. But it just gives you an opportunity to ask some questions, get some more insight on maybe some things that we've asked here, or maybe there's some questions that you've had previous to this when we're thinking about Q4 in 2023 or Q1 or Q4 in 2024 through to 2030. So why is Q4 so important? I'd say Q4 is really important for both financial services and for e-commerce. I think it's the time of the year where everyone is game to be marketed. So understanding how you market to them is so, so important. And I think some of these 3 points, these three core points that I'm about to show you, probably put that into a bit more of context, to give you a bit more perspective on why it is important to amend some of our creative to hit some of those markers for our audiences. So first, we're seeing that there are more sales year on year within Q4. 20% more conversions are seen by advertisers in Q4 in 2022 across Meta technology specifically versus the previous year during previous Black Friday and Cyber Monday events. People are wanting to discover new things during this period as well. So 56% of festive shoppers in 2022 discovered brands and products or services on Meta during the festive season. So like I said, everyone is game, and I guess the proof is in the pudding. The data says so too. And then our third and final core part of this is that more customers are shopping through ads. And although this is specific about Meta, obviously we're seeing a big shift onto video first content on TikTok and video first content, of course, on YouTube as it is. 75% of festive shoppers in 2022 who discovered on Meta specifically made their discoveries through sponsored content. And it's something that we're going to touch base on when we're talking about harnessing UGC and why UGC is so important. I mean, in fact, the holiday season, so to say, can represent up to 29% of a business's sales. And for those that where it doesn't represent a high majority of your sales, specifically in financial services, I'd say Q5 is also really, really important. So that period after Christmas to New Year's will be so important because it's a bit more of a lull where e-commerce decides to go down or have some downtime, and it gives you an opportunity to hit your audience on a platform and get some better CPCs, some CPAs, and an opportunity to find more discovery. It's an opportunity for you to reach that audience with less traffic. So to our first hack, embracing festivity. So, I mean, not only is embracing festivity important for Q4 because it is the festive season, it is best practice to do that throughout your marketing mix throughout the year, meeting your audience where they are and incorporating their experience. And I think that's really important to hone into, is that incorporating their experience right here, right now will help cut through some of the noise and cut through some of the normal everyday jargon in creating your creative mix that you wouldn't see within Q4. It's just about being precise and being specific. So what defines your audience during this period? A big one, of course, especially for sales, is Black Friday. And then we move on to some of the more cultural celebrations, so Diwali and Thanksgiving. Then we've got Hanukkah and Christmas, and of course, New Year's. I think an important differentiation for this when we're talking about the difference between some of our North American clients and some of our UK and European clients is that some of these will be more important to you than others. For instance, for North America or specifically the US, I guess Black Friday, Thanksgiving and Cyber Monday are really important. But that's not to say that in the UK that Black Friday weekend isn't just as important. I think we know from our perspective, specifically from a European perspective, that although the Black Friday is a North American holiday or sales holiday, is that it really has gone into overdrive within, specifically in the UK and within Europe, and Cyber Monday plays a part in that as well. So it's about adopting festive colors, reflecting your audience's life and their experiences, reflecting the cities that they go out and shop in, reflecting the events that their communities celebrate. And it doesn't need to just be about moments of celebration or specifically honing in on really direct messaging to do with Christmas or Hanukkah or New Year's. I mean, it could be as simple as literally just having a sprinkle of seasonality within your ads. And we have a really good case study for this. We find that we had a case study from one of our previous clients, that sometimes a seasonal makeover is literally all you need. It's incorporating more so specifically for this client. It was incorporating a mix between lifestyle imagery and also imagery that is defined by the season. So here it was snow and mountains, but it made a huge improvement to their Q4 performance. And in fact, that improvement and that performance kind of led on very nicely into Q1 as well, because we're still within that season, but it allows you to have a less creative fatigue because it's not as niche as some of the celebrations. But I think what's important is to look at how the results of this case study came about. So our client saw astonishing results, a 57% increase in conversion rate, 2.2 times cheaper CPPs, and minus 55%, a decrease of 55% in CPA. So I think it's literally just about placing your creative and the audience themselves within the creative and within that seasonality. Super simple and super easy to do. Our second hack would be going into messaging and intent. I think what is important to know at this point is that I think it was according to the the National Retail Federation, 73% of consumers expect their brands to understand their needs and expectations. And from our point of view, from our research, and from what we're hearing from some of our audiences, we believe that Q4 is defined by a people first mindset. So as you know, 2023 has served as probably like a huge reality. Well, no, actually 2020, from 2019 to 2023, it served as a huge reality check for most people. I think people are struggling in this time, and in this time of struggle, we see people prioritizing their essential needs above all else. People are putting themselves and their family above all else. So I think in this moment for messaging and the articulation of your messaging, I think it's crucial to position your service as a must-have or an essential. So there's some easy ways to do this, and I have a few examples of ways that you could do this. This is more of like an e-commerce example, but I'd say instead of saying something like the comfiest wears for winter, which is tried and tested, very simple, very short, to the point copy, it speaks to the seasonality, but does it speak to the experiences? I'd probably prefer to go with something like the best loungewear for a lazy Sunday or work from home. Not only are you talking less about the seasonality, I guess, so it's more of a broad messaging, but you're talking about something that the user can see and they can put themselves within that messaging. Everyone has a lazy Sunday or a lazy Saturday or a lazy week or a lazy month. Either way, everyone's lazy at some point. And then you're being topical by talking about the work from home. It's a bit more of a long drawn out message, but for e-commerce, you're probably looking at putting your consumer specifically right into it. It's something that they can understand. It's something that since 2020 everyone has had experiences with someone or yourself who can work from home. If we're looking at more of a financial services angle to it, specifically in insurance for this, tried and tested, protect your family today. It's emotive, it's short, it gets straight to the point. But I would probably say something, and again, it depends what part of the funnel you are, because you don't want a long-winded message just for the sake of having a long-winded message. But it just gives you an understanding of putting your customer at the heart of your messaging. So turkey, check. Games, check. Your family's financial future, try life insurance today. I think with this messaging, it tells your consumer what their essentials are. It talks about celebration, what they'll need for a certain event, and then it places your service within that. So you're kind of co-opting the essential nature of something that they'll already specifically understand, and then just funneling your own service in there as well. I think it makes people think, see, I've checked these things off, but have I talked about protecting my future? After Christmas, do I have these things in place that are really important for protecting my family or protecting my well-being? I think it's just about being timely and precise with your messaging that is the most important during this period. And of course, diversifying your creative throughout Q4 is super important. I mean, you have to consider where these messages sit within the funnel. So although we can't do this right now because October's been and gone, this will be really important for your considerations during 2024, 2025. So, an intro into festive greetings. So, this is the discovery, this is top of funnel. So, lean on some of that user generated content that you've probably been hearing a lot of people speak about. Lean on experts, lean on testimonials, introducing your brand and demonstrating your product and providing a testimonial. So again, going back to meeting your customer where they are and giving them an opportunity to discover you in an authentic way. And now we move on to more of the consideration. So within November, you got the countdown begins. You kind of, if you're not waiting for Christmas, you're waiting for New Year's. Things are happening. It's kind of snowballing, and time is getting shorter. The time that you can buy or get services is getting very shorter. So what we're looking at doing here is showing some of the benefits of your product within your ads. It's offering an olive branch to your customer for early access offers so that you can get some of those sales. I'd say early, but November's a really crucial point for you to be getting these sales. So feature some more emotive content as well. So feature family members, how your product or service might benefit family members as well. And then December is an interesting one because for e-commerce and financial services, the verticals kind of diverge a little. For e-commerce, you wanted to go into hyperdrive. You're wanting to show some of those numbers, show some of those sales as soon as possible, encouraging people to get, last minute sales and getting the delivery in time before Christmas or before New Year's. Whereas and financial services, I say specifically insurance in this, you want to be back in your awareness stage. You want to be preparing people for that lull down into Q5 and that Q1 traffic that they're going to see as well. So hyperdrive for e-commerce and preparation for financial services. Now, our third hack is a tried and tested hack that I imagine most marketers or most creative people will have already put into their ads already. And it heavily defines how we view advertising during this time, specifically around sales. So numbers are old, but they're a gold strategy. And I mean, here are some examples of this. The three that we're looking for, again, or three that we're honing into is numbers, urgency, and FOMO. So you look at this example of the Ray-Bans Black Friday ad. You have the price before, you've got the price after, and then in bold, you have the discount in the middle. If we're looking at this Target ad, you're seeing how they're using some of that early access terminology. It's here, it's instant, it's in demand. To get some of those Black Friday sales in early before Black Friday actually comes. And then FOMO is a really interesting one for you to use as well. So, I mean, the copy for this says Cyber Monday is here. The savings keep going on, but they won't last for long. So giving your user, or it's not only informing a fear of missing out, it's also the fear of missing out is informing a level of urgency as well. And I think these three techniques, when we're looking at numbers in ads, it just helps you cut through the noise because people understand numbers and people have the time to look at numbers rather than to look at really blown out pieces of text. So like I said, numbers do much better. And there's a study for this as well by MIT and